Again, we'll start the live in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, everyone. This is Craig Proctor, and welcome to the Craig Proctor Real Estate Show. And today, do I have a special guest for you? It's Nancy Kowalik from Southern New Jersey. Nancy, how are you doing today?
We're doing really well, Craig. Thank you.
Nancy, I'm so proud of all your accomplishments. You've come a long, long way. You're an inspiration to not only Craig Proctor members all over North America, but to, I would say, agents in your marketplace and all over the country. Share your story with us, because things weren't going so well for you before you and I met, and talk about how successful this has become, and the fact that you're not even satisfied with the massive success that you've had. And I think that's just your nature, your personality, Nancy, is you want to build it bigger and faster and keep growing. So let's start at the beginning. When you met Craig Proctor, what was going on in your life?
So we're going back now a good 8 years. And I was in real estate for 4 years at a Century 21 office. And I was doing everything they teach you to do, and then some. I had made a living for a few months. I was actually, unfortunately, going through a divorce. I had 2 kids, and I spent an entire summer taking my kids to the swimming pool for swim meet, and then going off to appointments. And I had 6 deals that were coming together in that 3 months, and I was all excited. And then literally at the end of the summer, after not getting in the pool the entire summer, because I was busy for my clients, my kids got taken care of, but I really didn't have a summer. And all 6 deals collapsed. This is going back when everything was kind of falling off of a cliff. And I sat there at the end of 3 months with literally nothing coming in, no way to feed the family. And I panicked. I panicked. I sat down and I cried. I mean, I gave myself a pity party for about a day, and then I started researching. What I found when I researched, there's a ton of gurus out there that tell you all of these ideas, the things that I'd already done, but none of them, to my surprise, were actually fully functional and doing these things, doing it themselves, showing the world that this is what you do, not just from some tower saying, hey, do this. So I did my research. I kept coming back to this guy, Craig Proctor. I didn't know who he was. Here I am on the East Coast. And I decided, it was the beginning of October. I said, you know what, hell with it. I'm going to California. I literally hopped a plane and went to one of your super conferences, paid $895 to show up. And with this whole idea, I vowed, I'm not buying anything else. It's going to cover everything. I literally had no idea where things were coming from for the family. And I was absolutely terrified. But, it's one of these things that you just kind of had to do. I believe in myself. But I got to the program.
That is true. That is true. Like in all the years that I've known you, you've always had that belief in yourself. You've never given up on that belief in yourself. And so even though things were going well, and the first time I heard you tell that story of having your kids and the pool and not using it and believing, when I'm making all these sacrifices for my kids, and I really want to be with my kids, and it's summer short in New Jersey, and I want to enjoy the pool with my kids, and you sacrificed all that, doing what you believed is the right thing. And then how, heartbreaking that was to have all those transactions you were working on all summer fall apart, and the time was gone, and the commissions you thought you were going to collect didn't materialize. So I think that I always remember the first time you told me that, because I felt that, and I think everyone in real estate has their own story like that, where, and I believe when you told that story, I kind of felt like that did something to you. That was like the line in the sand, and there's going to be a new sheriff in town. This is never going to happen to Nancy again. And all of us, including myself, we've had these really rough times financially in our lives, where our back is up against the wall, and it's almost like you really dug in, and you were determined to figure this out. Your attitude was, I'm not staying in this place anymore. But the one thing that you never lost was that inner belief in yourself. So So what happens now? So that's kind of the low point of the real estate career.
It was. And I think this is the first time I've told the story without crying, because when I go back and relive that stuff, it was hard. It was so brutally hard, especially that terrifying.
You did cry the first time I
did.
And I was on stage. I remember I was starting to tear up, right? And I'm like, well, I can't cry here. But yeah, it was a very, like, I knew that was real. You know, like I knew at that moment, like the way you were telling the story and the emotion of it, I knew at that moment when that happened to you, because as you relive that, that was a real turning point in your real estate career.
It was. And, I had 2 kids that were depending on me to feed them. I unfortunately had an ex-husband who wasn't helping. So I was, in this, and it was sink or swim, and there was no alternative. So I knew that when I went out to that conference, I sat there in the back of the room, on the 3rd day, listening to all the different things and realizing that this really was a franchise. When you made the analogy of a franchise, right, that McDonald's is run by high schoolers, essentially. There's a checklist for everything. And, we all get into real estate with this idea that you're going to be a maverick and I'm going to run my own schedule and I'm going to get to do all the things I want to do. And no, that's so not true. The client, whatever client you're dealing with, is your boss. And that person, if you don't want to work with them, you're still forced to work with them because you need that commission. Those kinds of things. I sat in that room for 3 days and kind of thought through and vowed it would never happen again. And when I realized that this was a franchise, a powerhouse that would take me from A to B as long as I went all in, I was one of the first people to sign up for coaching. I was like, this makes sense. You have to spend money to make money. My background was marketing, but no one told me in real estate it was about marketing. Nobody tells you that. And so it made so much sense. So I signed up, and that first year I was a quantum leap winner. I made over $580,000. So I went from $36,000 in a year to the next year making $584,000. I mean, that was kind of exciting. Let's just be honest here. I mean, that was huge.
Okay, let's repeat that again, because some people listening to this might think, did she just say what I thought she said? Okay, so you go from what to what?
So $36,000 was the amount of money I was making prior to coming to Craig Proctor. I'd had a couple of years that were a little bit better, but not much. I just signed up with Craig Proctor and within a year made $584,000.
Yeah, that's a huge quantum leap. And you say I joined Craig Proctor Coaching. Yeah, we call it Craig Proctor Coaching, but as you know, Nancy, I don't even like to refer it to as coaching because first of all, there's a very negative connotation in the real estate industry about real estate coaches, because what the hell is a real estate coach? Is that somebody that yells at me to make more phone calls? Is it an accountability coach, or does the coach is the coach just giving me random advice or ideas? Because in most cases, that's what real estate coaching is about. Is someone pontificating about what they believe or theory or ideas or something they read in a book or something they heard from an agent. And so a lot of the advice that's given to these coaches, given by these coaches, I even find is damaging, right? So, and hey, there's some good coaches out there, but look to be honest, here's the deal. What is the qualification here today to be a real estate coach? Here's the qualification, Nancy. You just simply have to say, I'm a real estate coach. That's it. So when we come to coaching, I like to actually refer to this as the Craig Proctor system. I've been trying to, make that shift in our marketing and advertising as to how the language we use to describe this, because do we coach you? Yeah, but we actually coach you on a system. And that's what Nancy's saying is she didn't realize what a big part lead generation really was in her success. I mean, she goes from $30,000 to over $500,000. I mean, you're the same person. You're in the same marketplace. It's not like, you picked up and moved to a different marketplace. What changed was the systematic way that you were doing this. So we got Nancy on this system and we coached her up on how to use the system. But if there is no system, no effective system, then what are you actually being coached on? Is the same old stuff that everyone else has been doing for 20 or 30 years. Like, hey, try harder, go knock on more doors. This system made sense to you, Nancy, right away. Like,
it did.
You jumped right on it. And so that's on you. Like you actually did it. because that's another people ask, well, is 100% of the realtors that use the Craig Proctor system, are they successful? No, they're not all successful, but 100% of the people that actually do what Nancy did and go all in on it, they are. I mean, you've seen people come and go over the years, Nancy.
I have.
And the
Yes.
people that are successful are the Nancys of the Craig Proctor system. Okay, so you're not satisfied though at 500, right? You're like, well, you're like, holy crap, I was doing 30-something thousand. I missed an entire summer with my kids. Now I'm doing $500,000. And the crazy part is now you've even got more time for your kids and you're making way more money. But the story doesn't end there. Nancy's like, okay, I think I'm on to something. What happens next?
So interesting, because you are coached on the system of how to grow and to leverage people and to leverage systems. I actually grew from being a two-person team. So it was me, and I mean, I came back from the conference and hired somebody immediately. Like, it was like, okay, I don't know where this is coming from, but I know we have to figure it out. But then I created a team around me, and that team, it changed those teammates' lives, right? So the women, a lot of women that were stay-at-home moms, were getting back into the workforce. Our kids are in school full time, and they needed a place they needed guidance, and here I am going, I need help. So I grew a team around me. Within a year and a half, I actually took my kids to Rome for 10 days and only called in once a day just to make sure it wasn't burning down. Like, everything ran without me within a year and a half.
Well, so that's a great way to, like, that. Who cares about the pool in the backyard?
Right,
now you're taking the kids to Rome. Okay,
Yes.
This is awesome.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that, you were in a tough spot with a single mom and the kids, and you were able to hire a lot of other, mostly women on your team.
Yes.
and really change their lives. So that's got to feel pretty good. I mean, it's, when you're growing your team, if you do this right, you're not just changing your life, you're changing the lives of all the team members. And a great leader like Nancy realizes she doesn't have this level of success without her team. And great organization skills. So your organization skills really came out. Like, I noticed you flourished as soon as you started to grow this team because you were good at this, right? You realized how good you were as a leader and an organizer. And I know you were anxious to have that time back with your family. And I know you like to go out to California and have a good time. And so now you've kind of got your cake and eat it too at this point, because you're making way more money than you ever thought.
Yes.
You're taking the kids to Rome. You got the team. What happens next in this evolution of Nancy?
So as the team has grown, and we do have men now, we have all sorts of people that have grown this team. I actually opened a second brokerage, which is a non-MLS brokerage, right? So in all of the things that we do, we question the standards and norms within this system. And for all of us that are heavy listing agents, you have to, really, listings are the best lead generators. Looking around, and everybody was co-opting, stealing our business through Zillow and Realtor.com and all of these other forces. So we started asking those questions. I had been thinking about it myself for a couple of years. So when it was brought up at a conference, I'm like, well, why didn't I ask the question, right? It was brilliant that someone did. And we started working on the system of how to sell homes without it being on the MLS. Because let's face it, when it's on the MLS and it's on Zillow, if a client calls in, they're not getting you. They're getting some random person that doesn't care about selling the house. And the seller has hired us. So in all of the things that we do within this business, the client is front and center, right? And so the client has to be well taken care of. So we started questioning, and I opened a second brokerage, which was a little bit of a challenge in and of itself. Had to train up my girl into becoming a broker for my Nancy Kowalik Real Estate Group. And then I opened Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty New Jersey, non-MLS company, and started selling homes off the MLS for a higher commission, happier clients without all the nonsense. And it's a whole system that, I started, and with all the collaboration of everybody within our group, we just put together a program, and we're constantly adding to it and testing new things. So it's a lot of fun. The bottom line is clients are happier. All right, we can control the conversation, because I'm not dealing with somebody who got their license yesterday. Who's going to just mess up that deal because they don't know what they don't know and they don't want to learn. So, unfortunately, that's become an experience here in this time period. But when you're selling it off MLS, you're dealing with a much more select group of people. Generally, we're dealing with more in-house or people that are seasoned that will actually go the extra mile and look.
Okay, so let's not hold anything back here. You guys, everyone's you're watching, following what we're talking about here. Okay, so here's the dealio when you list it in MLS. And I know we're all programmed to work our butts off, spend thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars in marketing and advertising. And we get so excited when we get this listing and, we rush it in and we broker load the thing. And right away, all your information is syndicated. You don't believe us, just go Google any one of your listings. Just go right now, Google any one of the addresses, one of your listings. And the one thing that you're not going to find is you. You're going to find Realtor, you're going to find Zillow, you're going to find Redfin, you'll find everybody but you. So Nancy comes to one of our meetings and we're talking about this. She's like, yeah, you know what? I never really thought about this, but that doesn't make sense. And if you get to know Nancy well, Nancy doesn't like things that don't make sense. And Nancy is pretty much all about principle. And she's like, okay, this isn't what's good for my clients. It's not what's good for me. So she opened a second brokerage where the properties aren't on MLS. And I know a lot of you watching this right now, you may have the same thoughts that Nancy and others have originally, which is, well, will this hurt my sellers? Will it sell for less money? Look, your seller has hired you to sell their home. So right away, if you agree that as soon as you broker load your listing, it's syndicated, that means you're not getting the sign calls. You're not, maybe the sign calls, you're not getting the ad calls. They're going to someone that doesn't even know the property. Also, I think many of us would agree that the biggest problem we have in the transaction sometimes is the other realtor. If I flip that around, you can now rely on the most dependable person which is you when you're selling your own listings. Yeah, there's no personality conflict when you're double ending your listings. So that's a big change that you made is just in general, the Craig Proctor system is about pushing back on industry norms.
Yes.
Okay. It's about questioning everything we've been taught, all the crap that we've been taught to do, all the way we think about real estate. Nancy, I think this is pretty accurate. At your first conference, I had to screw Nancy's head off her shoulders, pop the shoulders off, clean out all that stuff that's inside and pop your head back on your shoulders. Because if you don't get your head on right in real estate, if you're going to allow industry norms, old paradigms are just other people's habits. If you're going to allow that to dictate how you think and how you operate, you're just never really going to have much more success than the next person in real estate. So Nancy, I don't know, I guess it's, my personality and your personality and everybody at the top in the Craig Proctor system has this defect, I guess, that we have where we don't like industry norms when they don't make sense for our clients, and we'll fight hard to do it a better way. Okay, so what happens now? You've opened both brokerages, and by the way, your home sold guaranteed realty is a Craig Proctor brokerage. So Nancy has her former brokerage, and she's opened up a second brokerage, your home guaranteed sold brokerage. What happens next in this evolution of Nancy?
So I've been talking for years about opening a brokerage in California. I'm a little obsessed with the California coastline. I love it there. COVID hits, all sorts of things go sideways.
So that wasn't in your business plan, the COVID
it was not in my business plan. No. Right. So, but as we grew, I mean, we did $4.5 million in gross commission income in this last year. We would never have done that if I believe if I wasn't in this program. A lot of people threw up their hands and just kind of went, I don't know what to do. And all of us doubled down and said, listen, our families, I have 30 people working for me. They depend on me. I have sellers that are depending on me to not own 2 homes, and they're in the middle of things. So there's a lot that comes down to good leadership, and everybody kind of got together and said, here's what we're going to do. And we did. So that was exciting. So COVID.
Let me just interrupt you right there. I mean, those of you that have a team know that feeling that Nancy's describing right now. She's got 30 people that depend on her. She's got all these families, all these listings out there. And when the pandemic first hit, the initial response is, I'm responsible for all of this, all the families, we have their homes listed, all the people that we're working with as buyers, and 30 people on your team. So you really had two ways to respond. It's like you could have crawled under a rock and let's wait and hope this thing goes away, but you didn't do that. You and your team got together and you actually did far better during the pandemic. During the pandemic was your best year ever.
It was surprising to me. And I will say this, my team is amazing. And I literally had conversations with everybody and said, look, if you're not comfortable with certain things, you have to tell me, I'm going to go full bore because here's what I believe. And here's how we're going to work things. So we kind of set up protocols through Zoom, like in a weekend, we set up a lot of different things. We made sure that if sellers wanted to sell their house, there were a few that said, you know what, I'm going to wait. That's fine. It's your home and your choice. But when it comes down to what your needs are, so we had other people saying, please don't desert me. I mean, I had one gentleman, his name is Dan, I'll never forget, 78-year-old, lost his wife the year before. And he's like, he thought about committing suicide. He needed out of his house that badly because he was going in someplace different. All he saw was his wife. Those kinds of stories, he literally called me begging me, please don't desert me. Please don't, I really want to go someplace else. So all of these things, we just kind of turned around. My team was amazing. And we sold more homes without even stepping foot into them, except for the initial photos. It was tremendous, but it also allowed me during that time period to kind of reset my sights on what my future was going to look like. And recognizing how quickly we can pivot and make a difference, I turned around and said, you know what, Florida is my new destination. So Florida actually is, I'm opening another brokerage in Florida. And my brother and sister are already involved in things down there. We're going to change lives there as well. So, your home sold guaranteed in the Orlando area with Grace Fang. She's already got a brokerage there. So we're just going to kind of jump in and help get that a little bit more blown up. So, but it's exciting to see. What's super cool about this is right now at this point in my life, I'm going to Florida on Thursday and I'm going to be on for 2 weeks. My brokerage, both of them are going to run without me being here because everything is systematized. You have checklists there. I'm now the checklist queen so that everybody has the exact same 5-star experience, right? You want to make sure it happens. You have to write it down, make sure everybody understands the goals. So sky's the limit. I feel like it's one of these things. I said to Todd recently, Todd Walters, I feel like I've wasted so much of my life. Like now that I've kind of figured it out, there's not enough hours in the day to get more done because it's changing lives and creating opportunities for people. My son has actually started to get involved in the business, which I did not anticipate and want to force it on him. He likes the lifestyle. So and he also loves the people. He started coming to conferences. It's exciting to see the growth and feel the growth. And it's about setting the next goal and kind of going from there.
You've got an incredible story here, Nancy, and everyone's heard the backstory here. What we want to do, first of all, we talked a lot about systems here today. Nancy is super organized. I don't know if Nancy, you are always super organized, I don't know whether that entrepreneur was just inside of you waiting for this opportunity, but from knowing you so well and for so long, I know you feel like you started this a little bit late, but you've made the most of every day that you've been involved in the Craig Proctor system. And again, this is why we call it a system, folks. This is leverage, okay, in its highest degree. This is why Nancy can step out of South New Jersey and she can expand your home sold guaranteed realty anywhere in the country, anywhere in the world for that matter. And that's what she's doing now because her business no longer solely depends on her. Okay, this is an extreme form of leverage, but anyone watching this can do exactly what Nancy's doing. And I'm sure some of you will be inspired. Some of you maybe can relate to Nancy's story here and say, if Nancy can do it, I can do it. And that's absolutely the takeaway that we want. We're here to encourage you. And that's why I wanted you to hear Nancy's story. Now, Nancy's also, we're not here just to entertain Nancy. We're here to educate. And Nancy has a couple of downloads that we're going to show you quickly. There's 2 of them. And we don't have time to go through this today, but I just basically want to give everyone watching this some items of value so you understand how powerful this system is. So we're going to quickly go through some of the valuable information that Nancy has prepared. Like we're going to talk quickly, but don't worry. We're going to make these downloads available for you at the very end of our interview. So in the comments below, we'll have a link for this information. Now, when we show you this, you're even going to think more highly of Nancy. You already think she's smart. We're going to show you how organized she is and give you sort of a backstage pass to the way that she conducts her business. Now, before we do that, I'm going to do a little call out. If you're a real estate agent in Southern New Jersey, Philadelphia area, you should be seriously thinking about calling Nancy. Her team is growing exponentially. You don't have to spend 10 years in the Craig Proctor system trying to figure out what Nancy has mastered. The benefit of working with Nancy. Now, hear me on this. If you're in Southern New Jersey, you're in the Philadelphia area, I will guarantee you, if you work with Nancy, you will make way more money than what you're making now, net in your pocket. Like, let's not BS ourselves with gross, oh, I make 200 grand. No, you don't. You make 100 grand because you spend another 100 making the 200. If you seriously want to make more money net in your pocket and have more time, if you want to have your cake and eat it too, you should give Nancy a phone call. Or how should they reach you, Nancy?
Yeah, so call the office, 856-478-6562. Tell them you're an agent that's interested in talking to me, and I will absolutely have that conversation.
And you can probably find Nancy on social media too. I mean, if you just Google her name, if you didn't have a pen handy, you'll see her all over the place. She does an awesome job on all forms of social media. If you're in Southern New Jersey, Philadelphia, there's no downside to this. Okay, if what we're talking about here today resonates, just pick up the phone and have a conversation. It costs you nothing. There's no downside. If you don't like what you hear, well, you know what? You did your due diligence. You checked out Nancy. But if you talk to Nancy and you speak to some of the realtors on her team, you'll realize that what we're saying is true. Okay. So again, if you're outside of New Jersey, then you want to contact me. And I'll show you towards the end of our interview how you can get a free call with me. Again, to talk to us, it doesn't cost anything. We're not going to bite you. We're not even going to try to sell you anything. We would just tell you, here's how it works. If you join up with Craig Proctor, here's how it works. If you join up with Nancy, you are joining up with Craig Proctor. Okay, we're inseparable. Okay, if you join Nancy, you're joining her. Now, if you're not in the Southern New Jersey, Philadelphia area, then you want to call me directly. Okay, so and you can do that, by the way, by just going to proctorcall.com. My name, proctorcall.com. You can schedule a time. And we'll just talk to you about your business, how things are going, and I'll give you some advice. I'd say, hey, if I was you, this is what I would do. And if you like what I have to say and you would like to work with me, fine. I love that. If not, you're going to get great information and there's no downside. Just keep doing what you're doing, but take my free information and use that as well. Okay, let's have a look at some of these downloads. We've got our virtual assistant here, Faith. Which one do you want to look at first, Nancy? Do you want to look at the checklist? Or do you want to look at the presentation?
Let's look at the checklist because it's concise. The presentation kind of shows the steps a little more clearly. But again, I'm the checklist queen, 5-star experience for everybody involved. Okay. The only way to make sure that happens is to have a checklist. So we have here
it comes from the queen of checklists.
So this is literally, this goes in every file. We still do paper files here as they come in with listing agreements. So we have something attached to each file, and we do have people coming in and out to help with things. So I always like to make sure I get initials, everything that's done here. But from initial contact with the seller, setting up appointments for pictures, writing description, all of these things need to be spelled out. I know it kind of seems silly or redundant, but when you are a team and there are multiple people taking tasks on, we want to know who's been doing those things. So we actually have a space for you to initial the work you've been doing. Rose is our virtual assistant, someone that we connected with through Craig Proctor as well. But on this checklist, we want to make sure we're marketing these properties so well. So once the description is written, we go into omnipresence and we go out to everybody, Google, Facebook, LinkedIn. We have a number of Nancy Kowalik Real Estate Group pages, Twitter, Pinterest, everything out there. We're posting these properties because consumers are looking. Consumers are the ones calling the shots these days, really. Realtors are not the ones looking anymore for homes to show. Consumers are. They're the ones calling and saying, we want to see a property. So we're putting this out every place known to man that might be interested in your property. And these things we do and we track them. So you'll see them everywhere. I want to know who's posted them. We put out, so other things, omnipresence on social media. Not everybody's on social media. So we're doing things like voice blasts. So, right, so it's a call to say, hey, your neighbor is selling their house, come help pick your neighbor. There are emails that go out, there are postcards that go out. So talk about omnipresence. No matter where you look in the marketplace, you're going to see these homes for sale. I believe in getting a really big funnel going of interest. And the people that are interested in this property, I'm going to say 7.5 to 8 times out of 10 have a home to sell, right? So I'm going to move up market, and I recognize that. So by using one of the USPs and then marketing that way, all of these pieces become more relevant. So trade up to this home, or trade up to this home, or purchase this home, and that's just marketing that I picked up from Craig Proctor and implement on the daily. So these checklists go into everything that we want for our, this is an MLS checklist, and then I have a non-MLS checklist, which is just a little bit different, but it's a rush to get this information out to the public before it hits on the MLS, because we really want to create a lot of excitement. And we know, especially now in a seller's market, that creating a nice big long line brings the offers considerably higher. So little things like that make a difference. By the way, before it was a seller's market, we had 60, 70, and 80 people at an open house when it was still a buyer's market. And I'm really proud of that. These systems really showcased across the board the magic of the right marketing and pictures that makes a difference for our sellers. And then the agents are overwhelmed with the response. Talk about having your pick of buyers. You go to an open house and there's 70 people there. My agents are allowed to cherry pick those people that are looking to buy now, and then we work through everything else. So this checklist is designed for maximum interest out there in the marketplace, because consumers are making that call.
Nancy, I want to ask you a rhetorical question.
Yeah.
Who do you think can do a better job promoting one of your listings, Zillow or you?
Oh, me, unequivocally.
Right. Who cares more about your listing selling, Zillow or you?
Me. Zillow wants to sell the address to an agent broker. They don't really care about selling that house. They have no vested interest.
How many of you watching this believe that if you did what Nancy did, you had this comprehensive list that happens not sometimes, all the time. We're talking about this isn't like, oh, some days we'll do this, some days we don't. No, this is a systematic approach to every time there's a home listed. This is the process. This is what happens. And this is far more extensive than just broker loading your listing and have it syndicated. The sellers want a great job done. They want extensive marketing, and nobody cares about getting their home sold for the highest price more than the seller and Nancy. And so the easy way, the lazy way, is you just broker load it and, let whatever happens. And I guess eventually another agent will come along and the property will sell. Look, we can always do that, right? So Nancy, if the home doesn't sell on MLS, you've got a plan B, right? Which is
absolutely.
Now we're going to broker load it on the MLS.
That's correct. So we go with non-MLS first. And if for some reason it's not as wide appeal, whatever the reason is, and it might be that the owner is just a little too optimistic in their pricing, which of course happens all the time, we will put it in the MLS, and we'll make sure that Zillow and Realtor.com have it out there to blast to everybody. It's less efficient in other ways, but for a listing that's going to take some more time and a listing that might be a little too high priced, we do want a little bit more mass distribution. But then comes with it the issues of not being able to control who's showing that property. We know that people aren't qualified walking in the door. We know that agents, half the time these days, they're not locking doors, they're not turning off lights. They have no thought about security. So our sellers, while there's a benefit on one side, there's absolutely a detriment on the other side of having it in the MLS, because there's just unfortunately, there's no real training. And I don't believe that the level of care is given by people that are not trained properly, right? They're doing it more part-time.
But your sellers have that choice. They can do the non-MLS approach, or they can go to MLS, and they can switch approaches at any time. So absolutely. You offer these two different options, where most realtors offer one option, which is we're immediately going to broker load it. So you can have this conversation with the seller, give them their options. The seller can choose with your advice which one would be the best method. Okay, the next presentation, the next download we want to look at, all this information will be in the downloads. And let us know in the comments, by the way, if you're finding this incredibly helpful, let us know. Again, if you're in Southern New Jersey, you're in Philadelphia, don't mess around. You don't have to call me, just call Nancy. Just call Nancy, have a conversation, say, hey, Nancy, you know, I'm here in Southern New Jersey. Okay, obviously, you know Nancy, right? Nancy might even be irritating to you because she's everywhere and she's coming to nowhere and she's had all this success. Hey, look, just have a conversation with her. I promise you, she's very approachable. She would love to work with the right person. If she doesn't think you're the right person, she'll let you know. She's not looking for anybody. She's looking for the right type of realtor. It all starts with a conversation. So just Google her. I think you know where to find her if you're in Southern New Jersey or in Philadelphia, unless you've been living under a rock. Okay, now there's a presentation you gave at one of our conferences recently, and it had great stuff. Now, there's no way in the time that we have that we can get through it all, but let's tease everybody with it. We'll just quickly go through it because we're going to give it to everyone to download here today in the comments when we're finished.
Nice. Yeah. So this presentation, I mean, honestly, what's a listing worth to you, right? So that question was asked once, and it's like, my gosh, the house is going to sell. What else can we do with that house? So my goal is for every one house that I have, I pick up 3 new buyers. That's an absolute. But I'm also looking to pick up new sellers. So when we're doing all of these things, from signage at the front door to signage inside that house, when we're giving out information, we're talking about our guarantees. We're talking about the things that set us apart in the marketplace to make us different in the marketplace. And then we're achieving that goal. So this year, we're going to be really close. I think we're about 2.5 to 1 in terms of new buyers for every seller. Right. So the goal is 3. We're almost there. And we will not stop till we try. We'll probably change the goal. But when we have these sellers that are having amazing experiences, we end up selling the whole block. I mean, sellers come out to our open houses and look around and go, I want that. That's what I want. I want excitement. I want someone to care about selling my house. You know, as a realtor, we get people say to us all the time, well, anybody can sell the house. Well, that may be true, especially in a marketplace where it's a seller's market. But honestly, you're going to maximize the money that you can get on that home. So in our marketplace, we've waited years for the market to come back so people really get the equity out of their homes. And now we're getting $50, $60, $70, $100,000 above appraised value with the marketing that we're doing. So we're making a huge difference in people's largest assets that they can retire. Unfortunately, a lot of them are leaving the state, but that's just the reality of our time right now. You know, it's one of those things. I'm heading to Florida, which is a part of the reason that I'm heading to Florida, right? So there are different things here. Thankfully, there's enough people coming back in. But with this marketing, you know, I was taught, take pictures with your phone and put on the MLS. I sat there years ago and said, didn't they hire me to find a buyer, not to just throw it out there? I don't understand. Didn't they hire me to create demand? I don't understand. And no one talks about that concept. So Craig Proctor talks about that concept. Craig Proctor talks about abundance and making sure that you have more than is necessary to get the job done. So we're leveraging, I mean, I have there are 45,000, actually it's closer to 51,000 buyers in waiting.
I love the buyers in waiting program. Okay, so
awesome.
I know you might need a little drink there, so I'll talk for a sec. If you've been doing a lot of talking, but the way this buyers in waiting program works is Craig Proctor members are taught that we are going to be marketing to get listings, but at the same time, we're going to be marketing to find buyers. And so basically how we're positioned to the seller is that Nancy is the agent with the buyers. Like the number one thing the seller wants, you know, we think, well, the number one thing the seller wants is to list their home. No. The number one thing the seller wants is the seller wants to get their house sold. So when Nancy can show up and show her list of buyers. So the way I would do this, Nancy, the way I did it, I'm sure it's the way you do it. I would show up at a listing and I would say, oh, hi, Nancy. In preparation for our meeting here today, I checked my database and I did a search and I found that I have whatever it was, 127 buyers that are looking for a 4-bedroom, 2-story home in your neighborhood who, you know, want a quiet street like this and an in-ground pool. So should you decide to list your home with me, the very first thing that I would do is I would email detailed information and pictures of your property out to the 127 buyers I have in my database. And quite often we get a hit right away. Quite often we get multiple offers. So as soon as it's presented that, okay, Nancy actually has the buyers, and you can show that list and demonstrate that you have the buyers. And then if they're interviewing other agents, it's easy, because you would just say, so Nancy, I understand you were speaking to a couple of other realtors. Did the other two realtors you meet with, did they talk to you about how many buyers they're currently with? And typically the seller would say, well, no, Craig, the other two realtors, all they wanted to talk about is if I was to list with them, what they would begin to do, what they would start to do to try to find a buyer for our home. And here's Nancy with 45,000 buyers. So you've done such a great job of not just attracting the sellers, but the buyers in waiting, so you can create this auction effect for your sellers. So I know this has been a huge part of your emphasis and your marketing, and it works so well to help your sellers sell, for the absolute best results, like better than the results that we get in MLS. You see, this is what everyone watching has to understand. The reason you're putting on MLS is because you don't have buyers.
Right.
You've got to rely on another agent, okay, opposing counsel, right? The buyer agent's not working for your seller. The buyer agent's trying to get the best deal for their buyer. Okay, right now we've got the buyers, okay, and that's how Nancy's marketed herself. You're in Southern New Jersey, you know that Nancy's not just a real estate, Nancy has the buyers. And so if I want to sell my house, who am I going to call? Am I going to call somebody that already has the buyers, has this awesome track record for getting the job done? And I know testimonials are a huge part of your success as well, Nancy.
Yes. So we asked the question years ago, what if we got paid in 5-star reviews instead of commissions, instead of dollars? And so the goal is to have 5-star experience for every client and vendor that we come across. And of course, we are looking for those clients to shout from the rooftop, to be raving fans, not just be like, yes, she got it done, but hey, she did everything she said she was going to do and more. And so we have a nice raving client fans club. We have we have hundreds of Google reviews with all of the details. And we're proud of that. And that's a big deal. We push that with our agents, with the entire team, because our administrative team makes us shine as well. I mean, they're phenomenal. So making sure that's part of the checklist, the 5-star review. We talk about 5-star reviews all the time. Proud to do that.
Okay, let's flip through and highlight, because we'll never get through all of these. Let's highlight, we'll make this available, everybody. You're going to be able to download this. Nancy, I will have you just pace with Faith here and go through as many of these as we can, and then we'll wrap it up.
Gotcha. So the big piece, a sign is up on a lawn. And so most people will Google that address. And when you Google that address, if Zillow has the information or Redfin or somebody else has it, I'm going to tell you that 9 times out of 10, there's incorrect information in there. It's pulled over wrong, and they cannot find you to ask questions. So I know I get calls from other people. So by having it on a Google search, so the first thing we do when we have pictures is we create a blog, and we actually put a Google ad out there for the property. So someone pulls up in front of 123 Main Street, they're going to Google the address, and they're going to find a blog with all the beautiful pictures and all the information, anything that's going to entice you into the house, anything that's not necessarily 100% fabulous doesn't need to be included in those pictures, right? We're always selling the benefits of the house. So we're putting that out there to generate interest right away. And then we want to make sure, so not in the MLS unless we need to. So I'm going to tell you that it's 50-50. There are a lot of clients that want to be in the MLS. They just, want all of the agents out there bringing clients. What they find, again, often is that people are coming through that are not qualified. So, you have a client I'll go back to this. So, and one ad sells the property. So we're selling the property. We know it's going to sell, but the other ads are about generating traffic for that avatar buyer and also for more sellers. So those sellers generally are the ones stepping up into some of these luxury homes, which we're fortunate to be in that market, and they have a home to sell. So PS, we guarantee the sale of their home so that there's no risk involved. And that's also something from the Craig Proctor system.
Hence the company name, Your Home Sold Guaranteed Realty.
Exactly. Exactly. So we learned how to put pixels on our sites so that as traffic comes in, we can actually follow people around on the sites. You know, if a person clicks for information on a Zillow or a realtor, they're going to have 4 or 5 agents harassing them on the daily. We're going to make sure that we follow them around if you've popped into one of our ads, you're going to get a pixel popped on. And we're going to follow you around. So we're going to look like the only agent in the marketplace, which is exactly what we want to look like. We know if we get to that client, they're going to have a better experience than working with someone else in the marketplace. So when we are at the appointment, we're talking about all of these pieces. With sellers and buyers, what's your heart's desire? It can be everything from I just need to be in a good school district. Sometimes it's that I need to bring mom to live with me. Whatever that reason is, we have buyers and sellers to match. And we want to make sure that we're putting it out into the universe, omnipresence, every place you could possibly be, with voice blasts, Facebook, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Google My Business, Google email signature. The signature for your emails is huge, something that you can click onto for more information. I send out over 60,000 emails a week talking about my open houses. So that has been enormous. So we have buyers and sellers that have been clients, and we just continue to send them information which they share with other people. The consistency of what we do has really leveraged us and put us far ahead of the competition. The consistency. A lot of people, when you get busy, you stop doing things. Well, in my world, I'm not too busy. I have other people to do these things so that while I'm still setting up marketing and going on just a few listing appointments here and there, the ones that I want to, other things are happening around me on a consistent basis. And it's not just online. It is, you know, we do snail mail, we do signs, we do multiple signs. All right. So there's a lot that goes into what we do that takes us above and beyond the typical agent. And that I learned on the system.
Okay, we're going to make all this information available. Just quickly scroll through. Faith, let's just scroll through. Faith is our virtual assistant here. Just want to show everybody how much we're going to give you. Okay, we're gonna place this download. Okay, all of this plus the checklist that we looked at earlier. Okay, we're gonna have a download in the comments below so you can get all this information. Okay, so if you've been paying attention, you'll see that when you understand marketing, okay, and when you understand what it is that buyers and sellers really want, you can become very successful as a real estate agent. You've heard Nancy's story. When she met me, she was struggling. Today, I'm very proud of all of her accomplishments. Not only has Nancy helped herself and her family, but she's helped all the wonderful people that she works with. And she always talks about the people that have helped her become successful, because she realizes none of us can do this alone. So if you're in Southern New Jersey, okay, you should at least pick up the phone and introduce yourself to Nancy. Okay, give her a phone call. Say, just at a minimum, hey, you know what? I watched your interview. I really loved your interview. I found this to be inspiring. But if you are interested in maybe partnering up with Nancy in some degree, you could have that conversation. There's no downside to having the conversation. And if you're not in Southern New Jersey, and what Nancy and I have discussed today makes sense to you, okay, if what we've talked about here today resonates and you would like to jump on a call with me and my team, it's absolutely free of charge, no obligation. It's not a big sales pitch in any way at all. You kind of get a feel for my personality and how we go about it. We would just take you through, we'd ask you a bunch of questions about what you're doing. We give you some advice on what to do. And then you can either do it yourself, or you might say, hey, Craig, we'd like your help in doing this, just like I've helped Nancy. So if you'd like to book a time with me, go to proctorcall.com. So my name over here, proctorcall.com, and you can book a day and a time. We'll put that link in the comments below as well. So this has been Nancy Kowalik. She's in New Jersey, Philadelphia area. She's always got great information to share with us. We're going to have you back again, Nancy, because we know you're going to continue to grow and succeed. I want to know more about your expansion into Florida and eventually other parts of the country. Any final thoughts you'd like to share before we wrap this up today?
So I think, and we know one of the biggest trends is skepticism. I was a skeptic when I went, I get it. But honestly, if you believe in yourself, this is the system that's going to take you where you need to go. If you implement, the only other thing I would say is it took me, I mean, I had great success, then I kind of sat back a little bit, I was shocked at it. And instead of jumping all in and going to all the conferences, I kind of pulled back a little bit. Stupid thing, stupid. And so now I'm at every available conference. I cannot wait to learn more, not just from you and Todd, but also from the people involved in the system. So jump in and go all in. Don't hesitate.
Well, you're not just at the conferences, you're one of our presenters now, Nancy. So Nancy's moved from sitting at the back of the room to actually being on stage and inspiring everybody in the audience because it's such a great success story. And we're very proud of you, Nancy. And we know that this is just the beginning of your journey. I know you think, well, I started this a bit late, but you now have more time to do everything that you want to do. And we're also happy that we found each other, so continued success. I want to thank everybody for watching our interview today. I know there's other Nancys out there watching this right now. If you're struggling in real estate, if you feel that you're capable of doing more and you're frustrated with the status quo, perhaps you've given money to other coaches, you've been to seminars, like we get it. There's a lot of people out there willing to take your money, and a lot of self-proclaimed experts. I've been doing this now for 25 years. Many of you know my story. I was the top agent in the world for RE/MAX within 36 months of having my license. So I had a very quick change. I was struggling just like Nancy in the beginning. I was scared. I had no confidence. And I grew one of the most successful real estate teams in all of North America. And now over the last 25 years, I've had the pleasure of working with over 30,000 real estate agents, helping them make more money and have more time and have better lives. So I want to thank you again, Nancy, for doing this. Again, the downloads, all the material we talked about today, we'll put it in the comments below. There'll be a link. Reach out to Nancy, book a call with me, and we'd love to hear from you. So thanks so much, everybody, for watching this. Nancy, thanks for doing this. This is the Craig Proctor Real Estate Show. We'll see everyone next time. Thank you very much.